You ever get that feeling deep in your gut that something just doesn't add up? Like everyone's smiling a little too wide, clapping a little sideways, nodding just a second too late. The script doesn't match the scene, but no one's calling it out. Everyone just keeps pretending. Like if we all agree to ignore the leak, the flood won't happen. But you're not built like them, are you? You see the cracks, you feel the pressure, you hear what's not being said. And that's the part they hate the most, your ability to notice. Your intuition has been trying to not whisper, not nudge, scream. But screaming only matters when someone's listening. Most people aren't. They walk around deaf with earbuds full of distractions, brains stuffed with borrowed opinions, and hearts sedated by routine. Your intuition. That primal echo inside you, the voice that predates your name, your story, your upbringing. It's not silent. It's just been shouted over. By society, by noise, by fear. From the very start, you've been told how to think, what to believe, where to look, and more importantly, what not to question. And that's the trick, isn't it? They don't have to hide the truth in a deep cave guarded by dragons. No, they just teach you to look the other way. They hand you mirrors, fake gods, and shiny little things to chase until your soul forgets what it was actually looking for. They say trust the system, but which one? The one that sold you perfection through pain? The one that profits off your silence? The one that puts a price tag on your attention and then blames you for being lost? You're not broken. You're programmed. That's the difference. Intuition, your original operating system, has been trying to override the code, override the noise, override the social algorithms that tell you what's real. But every time it tries to break through, something shuts it down. A comment, a rejection, a rule. That twitch in your gut, that was the warning. That dream you keep dismissing, that's the reminder, but you're not listening. Why? Because it doesn't sound like the world. It sounds like you. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. The longer you ignore that voice, the louder the world gets. And the louder the world gets, the more distorted your reality becomes. You think confusion is normal. You think numbness is peace. You start defending your cage because at least it feels familiar. You even decorate it, call it adulthood, responsibility, logic. But deep down, you know something's off. You feel it in quiet rooms when no one's watching and the masks are off. That lingering unease. It's your intuition pacing behind the bars. You were never meant to be this tame. You were never meant to be this compliant. You were never meant to walk past lies and keep your head down. That's not strength, that's conditioning. You were taught to silence yourself for survival. But survival without truth isn't living, it's just maintenance. And maintenance doesn't need vision. It only needs obedience. The real danger isn't out there. It's inside you. The part of you that still waits for permission. The part of you that still needs validation to trust what you feel. The part that says, maybe I'm just overthinking every time the warning light flashes. That voice, that's not you. That's the echo of a culture that needs you quiet to keep functioning. That's the machinery of manipulation trying to keep you in line. You see, they don't want you trusting your intuition. Because if you did, you'd start asking questions, big ones, dangerous ones. You'd start noticing patterns. The ones they didn't want you to see. You'd begin to see that the system is designed to keep you exhausted, distracted, and dependent. And once you see that, truly see it, obedience dies. Fear loses its grip, and the truth stops being scary. It becomes oxygen. But this isn't a fairy tale. No one's coming to rescue you. No burning bush. No lightning bolt, just that quiet, stubborn voice inside you that won't shut up. The one that kept you from signing that deal. The one that made you walk away from that friend. The one that whispered something isn't right while everyone else was clapping. That voice is not crazy. That voice is clarity, and if you ignore it long enough, it stops screaming. Not because it's gone. Because you've made it a stranger. You've betrayed your own compass. And they win. Not by overpowering you, but by making you doubt your own fire. That's how they control people. Not with chains, but with questions. With shame. With the slow erosion of self-trust until you forget you were ever free. So ask yourself, when was the last time you listened before you explained it away? When was the last time you followed your gut without needing evidence? When was the last time you didn't betray yourself for comfort? Because your intuition isn't asking for proof, it's asking for presence. It doesn't want applause, it wants action. It wants you back, not the version they molded, the real one, the raw one. The inconvenient one who refuses to play along with the lie. They kept telling you to trust the surface, believe what you see. Smile for the camera. Nod politely at lies dressed in suits. That's the illusion, sweetheart. That's the show. They built an entire theater around you and convinced you it was life. Reality? Nah. Reality's backstage, where the curtains are stained and the lights flicker and the truth smells like smoke. But you sit in your little velvet chair, clapping at illusions because it's safer than admitting the play doesn't make sense. That's the trick. They don't hide the truth, they distract you from it. Give you applause instead of answers. Give you noise instead of clarity. And every time you feel that little itch inside, that twitch in your brain that says, wait, this doesn't add up, they throw more glitter, more slogans, more filters. They say, look at this, when you should be asking, why aren't you showing me that? It's not a lie they feed you, it's a diet of half-truths. And half-truths are more dangerous than lies because they taste familiar. They feel safe. But they're poisoned with just enough fiction to rot your gut slowly. You grow up thinking confusion is part of life. That feeling uncertain, anxious, off balance is just adulthood. You don't even question it. You swallow it, dress it up, and post about it. I'm just tired. It's just life. No, it's not just life. It's the effect of breathing in lies every day and calling it air. It's the disease of pretending everything's okay while your soul's trying to break the emergency glass. You see, they're not hiding the truth in darkness. That's too obvious. They bury it in the light. Overexpose it, misinform it, twist it into so many versions that eventually you stop caring which one is real. That's how they win. Not by silencing the truth, but by confusing it. By making reality subjective, emotional, unstable. You ask too many questions, and suddenly you're paranoid. You pull back the curtain, and you're crazy. You feel something off, and they say, don't be dramatic. But the drama's not in your head, it's in the script they made you memorize. And here's the joke, you didn't even audition. You were born into this role, cast before you could speak. They told you what to wear, what to believe, who to follow, and who to fear. Every time you tried to improvise, they scolded you. Stick to the script. Every time you colored outside the lines, they took the crayons away. And now, you're older, wiser, and you've got this strange feeling in your chest like maybe, just maybe, none of this was ever real. That's not a breakdown. That's a breakthrough knocking on your skull. The system doesn't fear rebellion. It fears awareness. Because awareness can't be managed. It can't be marketed to. It doesn't beg for approval. It just sees clearly. And when you see clearly, you don't play the game. You burn the board. But most people won't get that far. Most will stay in their seats, watching the show, afraid to admit it's fake. They'll criticize the one who stands up. They'll call him reckless, unstable, ungrateful. Because nothing triggers the comfortable more than someone who chooses discomfort in the name of truth. They'd rather live inside a padded lie than risk walking barefoot on reality. And you're starting to see the cracks. You're starting to hear the static behind the words. The smile behind the mask is twitching. And you're not scared anymore, you're curious. That's dangerous. You've been told to wait, to obey, to be good. But being good just means being useful to their agenda. It doesn't mean being honest. It doesn't mean being real. It means fitting into a system that rewards silence and punishes awareness. And deep down, you know this. You know that the rules were never made to protect you, they were made to contain you. And every time you trust your gut, every time you walk away from what makes sense, you start peeling back the scenery. You see the strings, the actors, the fake props, the script in their hands. You're not paranoid. You're perceptive. That's the difference. You're not unstable, you're finally starting to balance on your own truth. And that makes you a threat, not because you're violent, not because you're loud, but because you're awake. Because once someone sees the trick, they can't be fooled again. You're not asking for the truth to be handed to you. You're demanding it with your eyes. You're reading between the words, behind the smiles, under the rehearsed lines. You're not watching the play anymore. You're walking off the stage. And that terrifies them. Because once one person walks away, others might follow. And if enough people stop clapping, the curtain falls. You ever notice how quiet the room gets when you finally start asking the right questions? Not the polite ones, not the ones they trained you to ask in school with a raised hand and a smile. No, I'm talking about the real ones, the ugly ones. The ones with dirt under their fingernails and blood on their breath. The questions that don't get applause, they get silence, cold, twitchy silence, because truth doesn't walk in wearing a tuxedo. It kicks the door down wearing scars, and when it speaks, it doesn't whisper, it laughs. So here's a question: why is it that every time you get close to understanding who you are, the world suddenly distracts you? Ding. A notification. A trending tragedy. A sale. A scandal about a scandal. Flashy, sticky distractions just long enough to pull you away from that still voice that was about to tell you something real, something raw, maybe even something divine. But oh no, can't have that. Can't let you remember your own power, your own blueprint. So they feed you noise, and the more you eat, the more you forget that you're starving for something else. Something you can't name, but you feel it in your bones. Every system around you is designed to keep you questioning everything, except the system itself. Think about that. You're allowed to doubt yourself, doubt your worth, your path, your voice. But the moment you doubt them, the rules, the culture, the nice little package they've wrapped reality in, you become dangerous. That's the line you're not supposed to cross. You can spiral, sure. Just don't spiral in the direction that leads to truth. Spiral into guilt, into comparison, into anxiety, into shame. But don't you dare spiral into clarity. Because once you do, you'll start asking why. And why is the key that opens the vault. Ever wonder why they keep you busy all the time? Work, hustle, grind, scroll, sleep, repeat. No time to pause. No time to reflect. Because reflection is a weapon. If you ever really stopped and looked in the mirror, not at your face, but through it, you'd see something burning behind your eyes. A spark. A flicker. A memory of who you were before they named you, framed you, tamed you. You weren't born to fit in. You were born to wake up. And that scares them. Because someone who wakes up doesn't play along. Someone who wakes up starts remembering their assignment. Starts noticing patterns. Starts seeing how pain was planted in their life like little landmines placed strategically to keep them from certain doors, certain people, certain truths. It's also carefully placed, so precisely timed. Trauma becomes obedience. Doubt becomes dependence. And you become a quiet little ghost in your own life, haunting places you never chose, speaking words that aren't even yours. But here's the twist: they didn't count on you surviving. They built a world to break you. They tested your limits, your heart, your mind. And yet, here you are, still twitching, still breathing, still asking. That alone is rebellion. That alone proves that something inside you refused to die. So maybe the question isn't what they're hiding. Maybe the real question is why they were so scared of you finding it in the first place. What? Truth is so powerful, so potent, that it had to be buried under years of manipulation. What version of you is so untouchable that it had to be erased before you even met it? You think your losses were accidents. Think again. Every betrayal, every delay, every breakdown, it wasn't just misfortune. It was orchestration. Pain was placed to redirect you, to isolate you, to blindfold you. But even blindfolded, you felt something calling. A frequency just outside the noise. A voice that didn't come from outside, but from somewhere buried deep inside your ribs. And you ignored it for years. Because they told you to. They told you it was childish, dangerous, unrealistic. But it's still there, isn't it? Whispering, growing louder. You can feel it clawing up your spine now, can't you? They dressed your instincts in fear. They wrapped your calling in shame. So now every time you get close to it, you sabotage yourself. Brilliant, isn't it? You become your own prison warden. You silence yourself before they even have to. And the worst part, you think it's your fault. But what if it's not? What if the thoughts in your head aren't even yours? What if the voice that says you can't sound suspiciously like the ones who never wanted you to? Let's face it, you weren't supposed to get this far. You weren't supposed to survive the maze. But here you are, bloody tired but awake. Awake enough to realize that maybe you're not broken. Maybe you were just buried. Maybe they didn't want to destroy you. Maybe they just wanted to keep you hidden long enough to forget you were chosen. They won't tell you this, but the delay wasn't random. Oh no, delays don't come with warning signs. They come dressed as silence, dressed as rejection, dressed as unanswered prayers and long nights spent looking up at the ceiling wondering if something, anything, is listening. And while you were pacing the floor asking why nothing's moving, the truth was laughing in the corner, legs crossed, tapping its fingers on the table, saying, "Not yet." Not because you weren't ready, but because they weren't ready for you. You see, sometimes your name rings like an alarm in the realm of comfort. And when you show up too early, they panic. So the doors don't close because you're weak. They close because you're strong. Too strong to fit in with the lie they were hoping you'd accept. Now you think it's a punishment, don't you? You think being set apart was some cosmic form of exile. You watch them celebrate mediocrity with microphones and medals, and you wonder why your brilliance has to rot in silence. But what you don't realize is while they were performing, you were being prepared. While they chased applause, you were being anointed in the dark. And let me tell you something about darkness. It doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It shows you who you really are, raw and stripped bones and bruises. It shows you whether you're just hungry or starving. And you were starving. Not for food, not for followers, but for meaning, for mission, for a reason behind the nest. You needed to know that the chaos wasn't random, that the wounds had a map. So you begged for breakthrough, not knowing the breaking was the point. That's where most people run. But you stayed, you broke, you bled, you didn't quit. And every time you wanted to give up, something pulled you back in, not hope. No, hope is soft. What pulled you back was something much louder. It was fire rage, holy rage. The kind that says, I don't know why, but I'm not done. So now here you are, still breathing, still aching, but different. Not because things got easier, but because your skin got thicker. Your prayers got messier. Your tolerance for fake things evaporated. You don't clap at lies anymore. You don't shrink just to make people feel comfortable anymore. That smile you wear. It's not polite, it's dangerous, as I've been through and through enough hell to know what heaven costs, and you're willing to pay it. You're willing to risk looking crazy if it means not dying as a coward. That makes you a problem, because the system wasn't designed to reward people like you. It was designed to use them. Extract the power, discard the vessel. They want your gift, not your truth. Your shine, not your story. But you're not playing that game anymore, are you? You've seen behind the curtain. You've watched the puppeteers pulling strings with trembling hands. And now that you know the trick, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to being normal. You tasted the silence and found freedom in it. You sat with your demons and made peace with them. You stopped asking for permission. That's where the shift happened. You see, the delay wasn't a pause, it was a forge. You weren't stuck, you were being sharpened. Because when the time comes, and know it will come, they won't be able. Not because you're loud, not because you're pretty, but because you'll carry something they can't fake. Something they can't replicate, depth, fire, purpose. They can copy your style, your content, your words, but they can't duplicate your scars. And that's the currency now, not followers, not likes, but authenticity. And yours was paid for in tears. So let them wonder where you've been. Let them whisper that you disappeared. Let them write you off. You're not missing. You're loading. And when you drop, it won't be a debut, it'll be a detonation. The version of you they thought they buried will come back with a vengeance. With thunder in your voice. With eyes that see through lies. With a spine made of steel and a laugh that echoes in boardrooms. Because you were never late. You were waiting for the stage to stop shaking. You were waiting for the weak ones to step aside. You were waiting for the silence to end and the signal to begin. And now the signal's here, isn't it? It's humming in your chest, rattling your bones, telling you it's time. Not for revenge, not for applause,